Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast about movies. Today's episode is, of course, about a specific movie, which we'll get to in a little bit, but first, I need to invite you, the listener, to join in on our fan vote. We need movie recommendations. It's something we ask for every single episode, except for on Tay's episode, because that's when the fan vote actually happens. But nevertheless, we would like more fan recommended movies for our polls. So like I said, those come up every time it's Tay's episode, which is every 4 episodes, and then on the maybe it's every 5 episodes, because every fifth episode is the fan movie. So you have time to get your movies in. If you want to get a movie into the vote, email us at ff.filmfreaks with a Z at the end at gmail.com, or comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks on YouTube, or come to the Discord and say, hey, I want you guys to watch this movie. Or you can come onto the podcast, like so many people before, and recommend another one on the spot. It's up to you, really. It's a choose your own adventure. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I am Air Ferret, and I'm here with
Bud Waffles, I guess.
Creepy Clownmation?
No, just I completely forgot about nicknames.
what?
Callus, aka Blue Bud.
This is why we're kicking them off now.
That's unbelievable. Well, we have some unfinished business from the last episode. Tay was sleeping during the episode. He was doing the old, you know.
Or it was like P2 all along. You'll never know.
That's true. And we never see you two in the same chat room, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I'm a little disappointed. So I went back and listened to the episode because I totally wasn't on it. And none of you mentioned the amazing CGI in this movie. In Parasite.
Elaborate.
Explain.
Pretty much every scene you see has CGI in it.
Really?
That's how good it is. You don't notice. Basically, like, it looks like they're in the city. They filmed this on sound stages and in the country. They weren't like anywhere near a city the whole time.
Really?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, it was, basic CGI, but it was just done so well and incorporated so well. Like I said, you don't notice it if no one points it out to you. But yeah, like,
well, it was P2's job to deliver the facts last episode. So.
That's true, it was. And he let you down. Or did I let you down?
Oh.
You'll never know. But yeah, no, the CGI in this is incredible because you don't notice it. There's the one scene at the very end where you see like someone looking at a news story on their phone, where that one kind of looks a little CG, but still, it's very impressive. How little you can tell that there's CG in this movie.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I had no idea.
Exactly.
Does this include also like the shot where they're all like going down the stairs and it's raining, and like it's more like an outside shot where you can like see a lot more? Even those scenes?
Probably, like, so the scene when they're out in the yard, and like you see like there's the tree line of the yard, but then you see all of the like the city and just cityscape in the background and like more trees and stuff. That's all fake. Like if you go watch the behind the scenes, or you can watch visual effect artists react. They go over it as well. And you can see there's so much blue screen in this movie. So, but that's besides the point. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. And I mean, you guys went over most of it. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Good.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yes.
Wait, speaking of 5 out of 5, so let's move on to today's movie.
Yes.
Because today was my pick, and as you may or may not know from last episode, Callus will be leaving the podcast by episode 100. So episode 100 will be his last episode. So leading up to that, we are recommending movies for Callus, essentially. Movies we think Callus will like. And he's going to give us 2 ratings at the end of all this. One rating his base, what he thought of the movie, and a second one for how closely it matches his what he would want to watch, right? or something of that like. So my pick for this episode was Air Bud from 1997. Callus admitted he loves dogs, and I said, dogs, basketball, dogs, we're good.
Dags. Do you like Dags?
So Air Bud from 1997, directed by Charles Martin Smith, is about a lonely boy who befriends a stray dog who has a natural talent for basketball, and together they experience the highs and lows of life as their friendship remains solid through a series of escapades. And this stars Kevin Zegers, Wendy McKenna, Michael Jeter, Bill Cobbs, Eric Christmas, Brendan Flesher, Norman Browning, and many, many more. So, I would like to start this off by saying, I don't know how you guys feel, but the kid acting in this movie, actually really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Phenomenal.
Like,
and it won an award for it too.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
you did?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I felt like the main kid, great. I had no issues. The kids on the basketball team, fine, no issues. This is like a first for me. I was bewildered while I was watching. I'm like, oh my god, the kids are actually not, terrible.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Yeah, 1998 winner, best performance in a feature film, leading young actor Kevin Zegers.
Wow.
So on that point, Yemmy, I will say, some of the adult acting was awful.
Yeah, the clown. That was so bad.
The clown wasn't great. The mom wasn't great. All the other parents of the basketball people weren't great.
Yeah, those were kind of cringe.
Yeah.
The other parents.
But yeah, the kids did fine. Besides the one kid who's all like Wonder Boy, it's like that just doesn't seem believable. But it's a 90s movie with kid bullying, so of course that's how it's gonna be.
Well, that was a big thing in the 90s.
90s, 80s, that's when bullies could try to kill you, and it's just like, well, they're just bullying.
Yes, it's kind of like the opposite, where the adults are like kind of the bad actors. But I didn't think they did terrible. I think the mom was okay. Everyone
was
else
mostly okay.
The referee, the one referee, that guy was great. The bigger referee, I thought he was great. I loved him. But the clown,
he was like, "Oh, there's no rules about it. A dog being in basketball, whatever."
Well, I just liked how he was kind of like, he was always sweaty. He had this little bandana he pulling out. And I liked him. He was great. But yeah, the clown. I mean, obviously, clowns are kind of creepy in general. But this guy was like, they really established early on that he's just like a nasty,
horrible clown,
horrible person, bad
does
clown.
Does he know how to be a clown?
Yeah, like that first scene shows him like he's trying to juggle, can't do that. Trying to do card tricks, can't do that. The one thing he has going for him is that he trained his dog to, bop a ball.
Yeah.
And the one time the kids were actually engaged, and then the ball hit him in the face, the kids loved it, and it's like, why don't you just roll with it?
Yeah.
You could probably make tons of money.
It's a bad clown, and just bad all around.
Yeah, he's a bad person, bad clown.
Yeah.
Bad dog.
I mean, the actor did a very good job of making himself very unlikable.
True.
That's right.
True.
That, like I said, they open it up and they're like, I hate this guy.
Yeah. Well, they did like caricatures of people where they went over the top of like, yeah, this guy, he's bad, and like we're gonna like caricature evil bad, and then just like some of the adults, they were caricatures that you're just like, oh god, that's so cringe and bad, and what is this? Like the PTA or whatever mom, just get off the screen, please.
Well, it does have that 90s charm to it, where it's also a kids movie too, Disney as well.
Yeah.
Which is weird that it's not on Disney Plus, as Callus mentioned. Like, when I saw the Disney logo at the beginning, I'm like, why wouldn't this be on Disney Plus? Like, at first I was like, oh, is it like made by a different company? Like, and then Disney picked up Air Bud? No, it's at Disney. So why isn't it on Disney Plus?
I have a theory on this.
Ooh.
It's so okay, so like in the beginning of the movie it says like based on the character Airbud by so and so. So my guess is that none of the movies that end in Bud are on there because of licensing, and this is why I also think that they changed from Airbud to Air Buddies, and then like the rest of the movies became like whatever buddies, so that
Or
they can
presented
like
by Airbud.
Yeah,
Mm.
that makes sense.
Mm.
I mean, the other option was like, yeah, they had someone else like Amazon or something has the distribution rights to it, so they can't put it on Disney Plus until those expire. But I don't know.
Well,
Hollywood's
I don't know.
guess
It's
what's
not.
coming to them at the moment.
It's not really streaming anywhere, so I had to be rented from somewhere. Which
Yeah.
I found that actually on Vudu, so you can rent it for like $4, but on Vudu had it for like $5. So I was like, you know what? It's just $1 more. Might as well just buy it.
Yeah.
oh,
On Amazon,
Yeah.
it was to rent. It was like $4.25. To buy, it was $4.99.
yeah.
And I was just like, I don't need this movie in my
Yeah.
my collection, so I'll save the 40 cents. This is a movie when it came out, I was like 12, 13. Yeah, because it came out in 97.
Yes.
Yeah, so 12. So it was just right on the air where I was like, I'm a teenager. I don't go see kids' movies. So I never saw it until now. And now I'm like too old, so it's just like, ugh, this is cringe.
Well, Tay, I will counter your point by saying I was a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s, never watched this movie, have no nostalgia for it.
Okay.
And I unapologetically enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. I grew up in the 90s too. But I mean, I'd never seen the original, but I've seen like pieces of the other ones. Like I think I've seen the football one, but I like pieces of the others.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple scenes that were familiar, but largely the movie was just very unfamiliar to me. So what I'm thinking is like I might have seen bits of it on TV before. But
Most
yeah,
likely.
this was probably my first time watching it like completely from beginning to end.
Yeah. Definitely my first time. And like I said, it wasn't like I'm like, this is like so bad. Like it's cringe, but like it feels like that's intentional, for it's like it's a kids movie. They're trying to appease to the kids.
It's a 90s kids movie.
Yeah, so like it
On
doesn't
par.
really appeal to me, and it doesn't make me go like, this is so great. I just go, well, yeah, this is what it is. I will say though, some of the cinematography scenes actually were really, really good. Like the scene where he knocks over that fence and you get the lake, and it's just like, wow, it's like that is a really very pretty scene.
This was a time when like Disney was actually trying with their live action movies,
Yeah.
Nowadays you get like The Little Mermaid and it's like the most ugly looking movie out there, or the Lion King remake, which is just one of the most abysmal things ever in the world. But you go back, well, Lion King isn't even a live action. It's technically all made inside a computer anyway, so
Yeah, there's no humans in it or anything.
I would say the last like Disney movie that I watched that was live action that's not Marvel, not Star Wars, was probably that Beauty and the Beast remake, and I was like, that's fine. It was fine. And then after that, it kind of just snowballed into money grabbing.
Yeah, I don't know. I hear the Little Mermaid one was pretty good.
I just can't get past the characters.
Issues.
I can't get past the characters. They're just
the character design
disgusting.
for the fishes and stuff. That's just why. But yeah, I hear, like I said, I hear it's good. I haven't seen any of them.
Let's rewind, because in the 90s, this was when like Disney was making a lot of like good premium kids movies, and this was before like Air Bud 20 came out, so you have a solid story, you have a solid foundation, a beginning to this quote unquote cinematic universe that they created because with the Air Bud brand, and you start here and you go, oh, I can see why this became such a big deal. Like, I can see why it got 4 sequels after this with football, volleyball, baseball, soccer, all the different sports. I can see why.
Several basketball ones too.
You
said there's what, 23 or so?
Yeah, the list I was looking at combined all the different like presented by and everything. So there's technically like 20 something movies, but the Air Bud movies themselves, I think there's 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
Because I think in the soccer one, is when he has puppies, and that's where the buddies comes into play after that, or something like that.
Yeah, fair.
I'm
No,
not sure.
actually, Everybody's doesn't even have anything to do with sports. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, one of them they go to space. There's one where they help Santa.
Oh, of course.
Just
I don't
saying.
know if you guys
Everyone
got
has
it.
Well,
to
I
space.
mean, like, and that just circles back to my point. It's like this is like actually a good kids movie, and then you move on to the Air Buddies where they're
Yeah.
saving Santa Claus with CGI talking mouse and stuff like that, and it's just like,
Yeah.
if you think this is cringe, don't watch Air Buddies because
Oh,
I
yeah,
will
no.
tell you that is probably way worse than
Well,
this.
that's what I was about to ask. Did you guys like when I rented it? It gave me like a little commercial from the Air Buddies, like going, "Oh, we're gonna watch the first movie Dad was in," and like it
No.
had the CGI talk, and I'm just like, "What is
No.
this?"
I did not see that.
I did not see that either, thankfully.
Me neither.
Yeah, it was just like
I think that
okay,
started you off on the wrong foot there, Tay.
maybe. No, but like I like that Air Bud is like grounded in reality. Like it is just a dog. It's not a talking dog. It's a dog that knows a trick, and he knows that trick well.
Yeah, and I think it's very charming at times too.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really nice moments throughout this movie. One of my favorite things about this in particular is Bud doesn't actually play in a basketball game until the very end in the finals. A lot of other
Yeah.
kids movies would have him playing throughout the movie, like just playing basketball and beating children.
Yeah.
So I
That
actually
is a
like
good
how
point.
they wait until the end of the movie to be like, and now Bud's on the team, right? I like that because if it had started back when they first met and he just randomly joined the team right there, it just wouldn't have the same impact for the big
Yeah.
finale.
And I feel like, so I mentioned in our little chat that it felt longer than an hour and a half. And I think part of that is wise because I was expecting him to join the team at some point and go through the tournament. And when he finally does, I'm like, okay, this movie is dragging on. We're only like, this should only be like the midway point, right? And no, it was at the end.
I felt
Well,
like
I
the
think
movie had
it-
a nice pace to it.
Yeah,
For
it had
sure.
a nice pace, but I will say that it felt like it took way too long for the kid and the dog to connect. And like the mom being in denial for so long, and he's like just trying to hide him. I'm like, all right, this is like getting a little excessive here.
But
you know?
that's
Yeah.
part of like the '90s charm of like the kid hiding the dog, giving him a. I think there's a lot of stuff in here that's like, oh yeah, that's '90s. Him hiding the dog in the blankets and giving the dog a bath and then knocking over everything in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that scene
That's-
was fun, but
So that I think for me that was the types of scenes where I was just like, okay, this is just now unbelievable. And
Yeah, that
yes,
scene-
I know it's a '90s scene. It's definitely a '90s movie thing, but it's just like, oh my god, I thought we had gotten past this. I know this is before that, but
You gotta think of it as like a kind of a newer like when this just came out. Like you
Well,
didn't.
it
It wasn't
wasn't-
much of a trope as it is now.
it was still a
Yeah.
trope in the '97. Do you ever see Flubber, Beethoven, other ones?
Homo-
There always is a scene where someone's like, "Oh, this
Flubber
weird...
came out in '97. Hold on, I'm checking.
Okay.
Beethoven.
Beethoven like '92."
Do you spell beef oven right?
Beef.
beef oven.
It's like Beethoven or something.
You know what?
Beethoven and Beethoven 2. I'm pretty sure came out before this.
Flubber's the one with the green ball, right?
92 was Beethoven.
Okay, that's what I thought. 92. And then Beethoven 2 was like 2 years later, a year later. So the whole dogs being like knocking shit over and like it was.
Flubber
was
isn't
already
a dog
established.
though. Flubber is
Well,
cool.
yes, I know Flubber's not a dog, but he's my dog.
He's
Flubber's
basically
that
pet.
movie with the green goo ball, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
with Robin
yeah.
Williams.
Yeah,
It's about
Robin, yeah.
basketball too.
It is about
That's
basketball,
true.
too.
Yeah.
I love Airbud's outfit when he goes into when he's got the little shoes on.
Yeah,
and he's got
shoes.
the like. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Like
That's
We-
a great outfit.
We were training a dog up to a service dog back in 2017. So we had this dog for like a year, and he had to wear shoes like that to go outside because Vegas, asphalt gets very hot. Dogs can't walk on that.
Yeah.
But it's so fun when you put them on them. Like they eventually kind of start to get used to them, but they just walk so funny. So the fact that dog was not walking funny, I'm just like, dang, that's a trained dog.
no, yeah, it's like they really trained this dog well. I mean, all this like quote unquote stunts that this dog had to do, climbing the
Yeah.
Yeah,
the reef
exactly.
like several times.
Mhm.
What are those things called? Vines.
vines. I don't
Yeah,
know. Vine
Climbing
wall?
those like
I don't know.
5 times in the movie,
Mhm.
going across
Terrace,
the roof.
terrace.
And I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was sinking most of those baskets that they showed. You know, like he was actually able to get the
Oh, for
ball
sure.
up there. Like it's
I'm
very,
sure
it's
there.
very
I'm
fun
sure he
and
missed
impressive.
some. Yeah, I'm sure he missed quite a few. They just didn't make it into the movie.
Well, yeah,
Right.
what
It's
they
like the Try Guys or whatever, on YouTube. We're like, I did this in. It looks like I did in one try, but it took 10,876 tries.
There was also 3 dogs that they used for the movie: Bud, Chase, and Rocky, something like that. I forget the last one's name. And you can, and I could actually tell that there were some different dogs in there. The one dog had a much more like scrunched face, and the other ones were more golden retriever esque. So you could definitely tell there was
Yeah.
like a mix in there.
I can see that now.
I didn't even notice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
there
I
was-
didn't
there
notice
was-
while watching, but now I can see that.
There was some scenes where he had like a little bit of a different shade of gold, his hair.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
and his-
I noticed
there was
were
definitely
some
different
scenes where he was a
faces.
little chunkier.
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
definitely
I
used all
noticed
3 of the
chunky.
dogs.
Yeah, I think
It's hard to
funny,
notice
though.
without knowing though, because you just go, "Oh, it's just a dog," you know.
Yeah, I think it's funny that the clown, I guess, kind of jumping to the end of the movie, sees Bud on the local news, and immediately like, "That's my dog." It's like,
Yeah.
Well, I
other
mean, how
dogs
many?
can learn tricks?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
Well,
he-
then I guess he made it-
honestly, it doesn't even have to be his dog. Like he has those papers. He could say that any golden
Yeah.
retriever was his dog at that point.
Yeah.
True, yeah. But I
Which
mean, I
that-
guess he could have also made the connection because he knew the town where he was in, where he lost the dog. That happened to the news article or
he
whatever.
lives
They're
in
gonna
that
get
same
rid of the
town.
dog anyways, so that's
Yeah.
what I don't get.
But now
That's
he
what I'm
knows it
frustrated
can,
about.
What was
he
that?
knows
Greedy?
it'll
I'm
make
sorry.
him money because it's on the news.
Oh.
True.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's just a money guy. You get that when you see him through the window talking on his phone,
Mhm.
and he's like, "I don't want to do a beer commercial." And then later on, he's like, "Oh, well, how much did that beer commercial pay?" You know, so you can tell he was definitely money driven. But spending money, on the other hand, like trying to repair his car, not so much.
And not so much.
Well, that's the
But-
thing. He doesn't have money. He's a money guy,
Yeah,
but he's a clown.
He doesn't have
I don't
money.
think clowns make that much money, especially when they're horrible, at
Horrible.
their job.
And they get
Yeah.
kicked out and have to take baths in the fountains. You know.
Yeah.
I will say the scene where he's driving his car and it's falling apart had me actually busting out laughing.
Well, that was
Yeah,
good.
it
I
was
was
a good scene.
I was
Yeah.
very amused by just everything going wrong. Like his
Yeah.
steering wheel falls off, his brakes come off.
Axel
I like
doors
when
are
he's just
flying
like, I
off.
need that.
Everything's falling off the bottom of the car.
Right, and then that
Um,
final scene where he actually jumps it into the water was actually pretty impressive too. I really like that, and how the clown head just bubbles up and
Floats
pops
up,
up to the
yeah.
top.
I will say, I feel like that should have been the end of him. Like, I feel like because of all the damage and stuff he did, he's going to jail.
Well,
Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't get a chance to get this dog.
personally, I think that he should have he should have shown up at the basketball game and realized like, oh, this kid loves this dog. I'm being an asshole, right?
Or
Yeah,
even
that's
that,
how I
yeah.
thought it was gonna be. Yeah.
That's
Or
how
even
I
him at the
wish
end of the
this movie
movie.
ended.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
the whole
or even
court scene
him at the end
was-
be like, "Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
It's your dog."
yeah, the whole court scene at the end just felt tacked on and not needed.
Yeah, it
I wish
definitely
it
wasn't
would've
needed.
ended at
Even though
basketball.
it had one of my favorite lines where the judge is like, I don't want this turning into a circus, and then he walks in the clown suit. Like,
Yeah.
I found that
That was a great
hilarious.
line.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
there
that
was
was a good one.
definitely the interactions with the judge and the dog and everything was great, but also it just
Mhm.
felt
Yeah, it wasn't really
Tacked on.
needed. Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like it should have ended at the basketball when they win the game, and he should have been like, and he walks out going, well, I guess the dog really does love him, or whatever. Just some sort of like character changing moment.
I don't know. I kind of feel differently. Like I
Okay.
feel like that court scene
Really?
should have been needed, just because the kid tried to let go of the dog, and maybe he would have tried to let go of the dog again after the basketball game because he knew that the clown was still out there, trying to go after him. So we needed some sort of resolution to put an end to him actually wanting to go after the dog.
yeah. Well, I think I agree, but also they could have just had him actually approach him and go, nah, you keep the dog.
Hand him the
Yeah.
sopping wet papers. He's yours now.
Although
I
maybe
also
at the same
think,
time, he's like, I've lost my car. I need this dog for the money.
Yeah, I really need the money now.
I almost think it would have been better to have the court scene before the basketball game, and then have all that, and then the dog. I don't know. Maybe it would have made a better impact at the end. Like they're playing basketball together after he just got him. And then I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
But then he
But
wouldn't
then
have
again, they
turned up.
couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then again, they couldn't have him coming in to save the day, I guess.
exactly. So
But yeah,
Well-
I agree. But you can say something.
Oh, also, I thought that was like a very rewarding scene at the end when Bud like went up to the newspaper and like tore it up, and that makes sense why he's been burying all those newspapers. It's
yeah,
because of the clown.
I got that. Like
Yeah.
he hates newspapers. So you get that one brief scene and when it's like behave or get the paper.
I
So-
actually didn't pick up on that because when Bud was going out every day to get the newspaper and hiding them, I didn't pick up on that until the end of the movie. I was like, oh,
That's what I'm saying. It's a rewarding. It's like that you get
Yeah.
that reward for those missing newspaper scenes.
It's a very short scene where he pulls out the newspaper in the beginning of the movie. I would say it's pretty easily missable, which I understand why you would
For sure,
be like,
for
why
sure.
is he hiding these newspapers?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I thought he
kinda-
was
I
just doing
figured
it to
throughout
be
the-
like, for another reason
dick.
for the mom, for the mom to like say, no, you can't have this dog, But I was wrong.
Yeah, I wish that when she found the newspapers, it was actually kind of creepy how the guy just appears behind her.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
in her backyard. I'm like, oh,
It's like,
okay.
hello, trespassing.
yeah. He's like,
believe
hey,
you
that's my dog.
has my
I'm like, "Oh."
dog. And I think it's funny, he gives it the name Bluey in that moment, and I was like expecting Bud to respond to Bluey.
Well, he's got to
Yeah.
keep up. He's got to keep up the facade.
Oh, I
you
know he does, but it's like, of course, it's not going towards you.
That's insane that he went so long having this dog and did not name it at all.
Yeah,
Well, it just shows how bad of an owner he is.
Mm.
I have a feeling he wasn't the one who actually trained the dog either. That's why he wants it back. It's because he can't train another dog. The guy is incompetent. He can't do anything.
That
would
makes
make
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just happened to come that way.
So realistically, wouldn't the judge say, okay, it's his dog because the dog went to him first? I mean, realistically, but I know it's Hollywood.
I don't know. I mean, I he didn't get close enough though. He was about a half a foot away. So technically,
Mhm.
in the rules, he technically was not close enough to be ruled his dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Also, that dog had psychic powers as well, because it just always knew where to find Josh.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't you letting me in?
He's got the
Oh,
nose.
he's at the school. That's true.
Yeah.
Dogs. That's true. He does have a nose. A dog nose.
We
The
talked a
dog
lot
knows
about the
knows.
dog. I will say we've talked a lot about the dog. Let's talk about the basketball coaches because there's two drastically different coaches in the movie.
Yes.
The first one, you can kind of tell he's kind of like an asshole at the beginning.
Yeah,
you know?
ego-driven kind of thing.
Yeah, very much. And that scene where he's throwing the basketballs at the kid, like, oh my gosh, like
That's
That came out of nowhere a little bit.
it
Like,
really did.
you'd see, he's extreme, but he hasn't been violent to anybody.
Hmm. Well, they
you
had
say
to
that
give him fire
scene-
for some reason.
Yes. Did it?
they had to
did
get him out
you? Would you say that scene was visceral?
I would not say it was visceral. No.
No, it came out of nowhere. It didn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things.
Mm.
Plus, I feel like the guy he kind of tried. Like he gave Josh the management
Yeah.
job, which is kind of fun because he could see that he was he did like basketball.
Yeah.
Um,
Although
I-
when he shows up at the end and shows up for the tryout, he's like, "What are you doing? You can't try out. Fine, I'll let you try out, but don't mess it up." It's like,
yeah, there's weird character changes throughout the movie with him
Yeah.
in particular. I don't think anyone else really has that problem, just the coach. And
Yeah.
it probably is, yeah. They just needed a reason to get him out of the picture so they could have the real coach come in who actually knew how to coach basketball.
yeah.
But why though? I mean, like the other guy. I mean, he didn't. I guess he came at the courtroom at the end, but I feel like the other coach could have done it all. I mean, I just don't get like why they had to fire him.
Because
I mean, I get it because he was
a
on
much
basketballs, but
better
I don't get why it could have
coach.
been just one coach.
because they needed someone who was like team oriented, and not just like the one kid gets the ball and everyone else can do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
I think the main the main theme of this movie is teamwork. Josh works with Bud to do the basketball thing. The new coach, Arthur, he comes in and he's all about teamwork, and one of the first things he teaches is the invisible ball thing, where you need to really see where the ball is and who's throwing you the ball and stuff like that. You can't just work on your own, and that's the big thing at the end of the movie, where the one kid, the bully kid, is trying to do it all himself and he can't keep up, and so
That's
that's the big theme of the movie is teamwork, and
mm,
they needed this other coach to come in because the original coach, I don't remember his name, just wasn't cutting it.
I think they also had to fire him so that one kid was on the opposing team too. So because if he didn't leave, I guess the star, quote unquote, would have stayed on the team.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true. I'm guarantee that the old coach wouldn't have swapped out the kid who was being a ball hog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
makes
guess
sense.
his name
Okay,
was
that makes
Coach
sense.
Barker.
Barker.
That's the
Yeah.
main coach.
And then the dad who freaks out about his son not being in the game. Believable. I've been to enough little league games when I was a kid. Believable.
Oh, trust me,
Really?
it's definitely believable in the field that I work in. Trust me, it's parents are crazy. Like there's no joke in parenting. Like
Yep.
when these parents get insane, I'm like, it's just a game. Calm down.
Why isn't my son in? He has a broken fibula.
Yeah, he has a broken leg, sir. Wow, I want him in.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
I
going
guess
to the other school.
Yeah, okay.
That was
what that-
extreme. That was so
Yeah.
funny when I when I
Move
heard-
like
For
you don't
Little
have to
League
move to
basketball.
send them to another school. Yeah.
All this
and that-
over some Little League basketball.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
I guess for me that's I'm not a huge sport person. It's just like seeing them all take like we're gonna make finals, it's gonna be serious. It's like it's not serious. It's Little League.
Hey, it's serious to them.
Yeah.
Sure, but like some of the adults, how it's serious to them. It's like
Well,
it's Little League.
a lot of adults live through their kids. They live their
yeah,
dreams through their
true.
kids.
That's
Just look
true.
at that baby Gronk guy, kid. The
Oh,
dad is
gosh.
like being
Mhm.
really weird, and like he actually has a restraining order against him now, against the real Gronk, because he was trying to bug him so much. Like that's a dad who's living through his son. His son is now
Popularity.
so popular now because he's in Little League football, and he caught 5 touchdown passes in a game. And so even from the 90s to today, and obviously before then, parents are still living through their kids vicariously.
I guess I didn't really deal with that much in growing up at all, so it's just weird.
Now,
But then again, it goes to adult acting too. So
Yeah.
I was
Now,
gonna- I
Callus,
was
go.
I was going to ask Callus, are any of your kids interested in doing a sport, and do you think you'll be one of those crazy sport parents?
Well, I'll have you know that my middle child is currently in a little league soccer team.
Uh-oh, watch out. Watch out, parents.
Well,
Callus is going to break legs.
yes, you better believe it.
Going back to like, I don't know the way to transition this, but like some of these scenes were just like flat out random. On top of the randomness, some scenes were just like insanely like amount of destruction. I was like, okay, this is a little too much destruction going on right here. Like the ending scene with the guy getting in his car, that was great. But like the paint scene and all the other scenes, it's like, okay, come on. I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but also, did you guys also notice like some
Well,
audio troubles? I know I just asked.
Let us
Okay,
respond
that's-
to the-
Whoa,
Yeah.
yeah, slow down.
I know, But yeah, do you guys think like there was like a little overload of like destruction at some parts, or?
Well, I can only. I
Yes,
mean,
but
I can remember 3 scenes that had destruction. One of them was the car scene,
Clown. Yeah, the clown car scene, and then
the
Yeah,
paint,
paint
scene,
scene.
and then
And then the scene at the very
basketball.
beginning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that beginning scene was just kind of fun, way to start.
Yeah.
They needed something to start the movie with, like a little bit of action, I guess you'd say. Also,
Yeah.
it's a kids movie, so kids love crazy
Destructions, yeah.
destruction scenes. You know, I don't, and they didn't last for too long. I mean, I understand where you're coming from though, because it does seem like a lot is going on, like a lot is happening at the same time. I wouldn't say it was too distracting. You know.
Hmm.
I didn't mind it at all. I mean, that paint scene was just, I think, like a little bit over the top ridiculous, because who puts 3 paint cans completely open on the top of a ladder? Like, who does that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you're
right.
done painting, you put the thing
You
back
close it
on,
up.
lid.
Yeah, put it on the
It'll dry
floor.
out.
You know?
And the wallpaper stuff too.
Yeah, no, I agree a little bit. Like it was a little too much for me. But you know, as I mentioned, it's
I didn't mind though. It's just, it's a kids movie. It's a '90s
Yeah.
kids movie, so
Yeah.
it
There's
was
something that like
pretty
knocked
funny.
the movie, but
yeah, like the car at the end breaking part was great. But yeah,
Yes, that was good.
like I said, just the situation of in the paint room is it's just like no one's in there working. Why is all this paint open? Why is this
the
stuff-
mom was just coming home from work, so there was like absolutely no one working on the room.
plus isn't
Yeah.
it bad to leave the paint open? Wouldn't like not
Yes,
dry out, but
yes,
wouldn't it
yes,
like
it
ruin the
is,
paint?
Yep.
Especially the wallpaper stuff. That would definitely like harden.
Yeah, it's wax. It said it's wax.
Yeah.
You just now have a bucket of wax, like solid wax, like a giant candle. You've made a giant candle
With
Without
no
a
wick.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
So not really a Kindle then.
Yeah, then the second part of what you were going to say, I'm guessing, was going to be about the soundtrack being a little bit too loud, or
Not
parts...
just the soundtrack, but even like while all the destruction was going on, it just seemed like everything was like an inch, like not an inch, but like a few decimals up. I don't know.
There's a
But,
handy.
I mean, I know it's
there's
supposed to
actually a
emphasize, like, the
handy
destruction.
option on your TV remote that actually there's a minus button, and it actually decreases the volume of the.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
I didn't
my
notice
my
any
complaint.
audio.
My complaint was that sometimes the soundtrack was too loud, you know,
Yeah.
and you can't really do anything about that because it's a mixing issue. I feel like sometimes the soundtrack was just like really, really bombastic and huge, and I'm like, okay, we don't need it to be this loud,
Yeah,
you know, we
and
don't
it
need
was-
it to be
It was
like,
always when they like were playing a like song, not just like instrumental or whatever. It was just like, hey, remember this song on the radio, which none of us do at this point.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why is this loud?
yeah, that's the one thing. The audio mixing is a little bit weird. The talking, everything like that is fine.
Yeah,
then,
the
but
talking
when
scenes
they
are fine,
have
yeah.
the music come in, it's just a little bit too overbearing, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just noticed when like all those destruction scenes were going on, and then the soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah,
have
I would say during
absolutely-
the destruction scenes they would be loud.
Mhm.
I got nothing to add to any of that because I didn't notice anything being overly loud personally.
For me, it was
That's-
just
that's
the
fine.
one song I noticed was when they were giving the dog a bath.
Yeah. That was really loud.
It's like a jump scare. Scrub in the tub. Ah!
Ah,
That wasn't any like splish splash. I was taking a bath, or anything recognizable. It was just some weird.
It was a song they were
90s.
trying to get going, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
They got the license for it. I enjoyed the bath scene. I thought that was pretty cute.
I enjoyed the scene where he was getting air dried, and then
Yeah.
like his cheeks were like flopping over to make him look like he was smiling. I thought that
Mm.
was funny.
Okay.
A lot of the scenes were pretty good. So I watched this movie with Tater, surprise, surprise, and she noticed something that I completely would have missed, but it's just something random and funny. But like, question for you guys:
Okay.
whatever happened to the little sister?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
kind of disappears halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I think the last scene she appears on is the Christmas morning, and like
Yeah.
after that she just vanishes, like not ever seen again in the entire rest of the movie.
Well,
Hey,
I mean, at that point, you don't
babysitter.
ever see the home, and she's always at home. She's too young to be anywhere else. So
You see the home later on.
Yeah, but she wasn't at like the basketball games. Like maybe they could have glanced at her or something.
She wasn't at the basketball game. She wasn't in the court scene. Nowhere.
maybe it was just the child actor. His parents went, you know what? No, I don't want her to be in this anymore.
Yeah, it could have been
Makes-
something weird where she was not cooperating or something like that. Or, I mean, it's a even younger baby actor, I guess you could call toddler actor. So there's
I
probably
feel-
more stricter laws with that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I feel like she was just like not needed for the plot at all.
Yeah,
Like
they
maybe
could.
her only purpose for being there was for the month to say, think of your sister, like when when
And he
she
does.
was asking for the dog.
That and the scene where she's talking about Santa Claus because she tells that story to the baby, and you're just like, okay, this is a weird thing to include.
Yeah, the babysitter was handling it at that time.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, see, now I want a movie like how in Incredibles you get the whole Jack's like with the babysitter. I want one of those.
Are
with
you
Virginia.
sure?
It'd be so boring because she's just a normal baby. Would you like more peas, Virginia? Okay. And it's just 10 minutes of that.
Well,
great if I could
sure,
go
make it
see
happen.
a magic
Yeah, I'll
dog.
call up Disney right now and make it happen.
Oh, and
I
they're
want-
well, no, you can't right now. There's a strike going on.
That's true. All right, I'll go into my backyard. We'll CGI it. We'll green screen it.
Perfect.
Randy
And
will be the
actually,
dog.
I want sequels to this too, so I want her like throughout her whole life, like go through
She's
Oh,
school
man.
and
always taking
college.
second fiddle to
Find a
this
job.
stupid dog.
Yeah. Did you hear about her brother's dog? And she's like, "Shut up about the dog already."
He's here in therapy, and they left me at home for several days while they
Was-
were dealing with this dog.
The guy looks at his nose. He's like, "Oh wait, are you? Wait, what is your last name? Fram? Yeah. So can you give me the dog's autograph? You're my therapist. What are you doing here?"
That'd be great. I guess we had to have to watch some of the sequels to see if she grows up and is into sequels, or if they just wrote her off and she's not in any of them.
I want to say that the next movie doesn't even have the same actors in it. Oh no,
No.
it does. Josh is back.
Let's see if I can find.
Josh and Muddy moved from basketball to football in his first ever, the first of several sequels to the original Air Bud. So the one thing that I noticed, specifically on Letterboxd, is there's a lot of people who are like super negative with this movie,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, I just don't feel like it deserves the negativity. Like anything below, like a 2-star and below, just doesn't seem right to me. In a lot of different reasons. Like I understand if like you're like I hate dogs or this movie was on all the time and it annoys me so much, right? But from an objective stance, I don't think that this movie deserves as much like not hate but like dislike as it gets.
Sure. I can see that. I think partly is some of the people is because their kids, watch the sequels and the Buddies movies, and they're just like, "This is the one that started it all."
Yeah. Like it.
Well, it's just kind of like this. One enough is enough. Like there's too many movies. And then especially when the dog had puppies, it's like okay, it's like come on. It's like in Family Guy when Stewie was pregnant. It's like okay, we're going a little too
No,
far.
it's
now.
not like that at all.
No.
You gotta bring up that stupid episode of Family Guy.
I stopped watching Family Guy forever ago.
Yeah, same.
I think that was like one of the last episodes I actually watched, and I was like, "This is stupid. I'm done." Like,
Anyways, back to Airbud.
Yes, back to
yeah,
Airbud.
I mean, this is the first movie in the series, so you would think if this was like someone's first, like, let's say they're doing an Air Bud watch through or whatever of the original movies, you would think they would be the most positive about this one going forward because
Yeah.
once you go
Yeah.
past this one, like all
Maybe
the other
they
movies
are.
in the
You
entire
go-
series are just like ones and half stars,
Maybe if you go, the other ones are all zeros.
Well,
I'd
close.
give
Well-
this -6 if I could.
Only 2 other movies are on Rotten Tomatoes, and they have like very low ratings, and like none of the other ones are even have a rating.
Yeah.
Yes, it's too bad. I think this. I mean, obviously they tried. Disney really tried to get this off the ground and be good, but I think they made enough money just from the kid audience that they. I mean, that's why you have so many sequels and stuff like that. But I do think that with how these other movies reviewed, I think Air Bud deserved better. Especially after such a strong start for the series. I feel like Air Bud as a character, as a dog, as just a series. deserved
Well-
maybe a bit of a higher quality,
It's it's the Land
Run.
Before Time problem, where it's like the first one's great, everyone after that awful,
Yeah, I'll
but
agree
they
with you on
keep
that one.
making them.
They still make them to this day, yeah.
I know why.
Same thing with Ice Age. It's like, when are we getting, like, when's Ice Age dying? Like, the first movie was a hit, and the rest of them are like, well, it's an Ice Age movie.
I mean, they weren't bad. I've seen, I think I've seen the first 3.
Well, then you haven't gotten to the terrible ones yet. Then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I did. Well,
There's a
that's the same
point.
thing
There's a
where,
point where you milk a franchise
Yeah.
and it becomes dry, and then you're just milking air. And Airbud got there. I would say, just gathering at the Metacritic data, at like the third movie they milked it dry.
Yeah.
I don't know personally, but I'm just saying they probably milked this dry way too quickly, and now they're just essentially milking a dead cow at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of franchises that did that. One that's dear to your heart, Shrek did that. It should have stopped at 3, but it kept going.
A lot of people think it should have stopped at 2, but we're
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
Oh, I know you like the third one too. So
Yeah, the only thing is I haven't seen it in years, so who
I
knows
haven't seen
how I
it at
feel.
all. So
I went into this podcast early on, be like, Shrek the Third is pretty good. I don't actually remember if it's actually good or not at this point. I might have. I mean, tastes change throughout the years. I might hate it the next time I watch it. That's why I'm scared to recommend it.
Next recommendation, let's go.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, this Airbud, definitely went down the same route. Just kept trying to milk it, and yeah, here we are. But yeah, you're right. The first one, like, it's not amazing by any means, but it's not bad. Like, it's a
Mhm.
kids movie, and you go, yeah, I can see why kids like this. I, as an adult, don't really, I didn't necessarily care for it, but I don't think it's bad. And I see why kids love it.
Yeah, I think if I had seen this when I was a kid, I would have really enjoyed it. But I was more of like an animated movie kid, so I didn't really
Yeah.
watch the live action stuff.
Yeah.
Any other last thoughts?
Just like last episode, I'm going to unlock the door and open it for any more criticisms that someone might have for this. No judgment.
I think we
Okay.
pretty much already
Yeah.
discussed some of the criticisms, or like some of the
I'm doing this for the
kinda
people who
cringe.
have lower numbers than you expect, okay? If you have anything else to say.
I feel like everything I've said, people should know what I'm going to give it at the very least.
Well, I don't
So,
know. Should we guess?
don't
Should we all guess?
Go guess. Yeah, what do you think I'll give it?
Actually, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess a 2.5.
That's what I was gonna say.
I was gonna say
Uh,
3.
Yeah, I was gonna guess 2.5.
Well, we'll see in a
guess
sec.
we'll find out in a little
Who's
bit.
first?
Yeah, all
We'll
right.
find
Yummy,
out.
lead us off.
Yemmy.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I kind of really enjoyed this movie. As a person who didn't have nostalgia for Air Bud, or I didn't see it back in the past, I actually appreciate a lot of what this movie does. I think there's a lot of fun moments. I think the actors, the kid actors specifically, are actually really good in the movie. I feel like they did a really good job. And I thought that the story in general was pretty good. The movie had a nice pace to it, a lot of fun moments, a lot of parts where I actually was laughing a little bit. Actually got a chuckle out of me here or there. Yeah. So my main criticism is, like, I personally don't think that the court scene should have happened. I think that the movie should have ended around the basketball scene, because that's like the major climax, and then they could have had like the descending action where the clown apologizes and gives them the dog, and he's a hero and blah 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 blah. And of course there could have been like a little epilogue with the dog getting the newspaper and bringing it into the house for the mom. Kind of, that would have been kind of cute, but that's not how it went. And I still enjoy the court scene because it does have some funny moments just between the judge and, like, that's kind of stuff. So there you go with that. And then the other thing was, like, the soundtrack really loud all of a sudden at times, when it doesn't really need to be. Felt like a little bit overbearing, maybe almost forcing you to have an emotion that you might not have had if the soundtrack wasn't there. But I'm not going to apologize for enjoying this movie. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. Movie story was great. The kid actors were phenomenal. The adult actors, not so great, especially the clown. The clown kind of annoyed me through the movie, but I think that's kind of the point of the movie, is that's the vibe they wanted to give him, and just his acting was bad. The soundtrack was also obnoxious at point. at points, and it was really frustrating. But I do agree that the court scene, it, they could have either moved it before the game and then had the game after. But I get why they did it, because the dog couldn't come and save the day, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I mean, fun scenes. The bat scene was great. The truck scene was probably my favorite scene, and just overall, it was a fun watch. And I would have probably really liked this as a kid as well. So I'm also gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
All right. So, yeah, overall, like, it was a fun enough story. It's definitely, obviously, geared towards kids. And there was just some things in there that, like, especially since I've, 90s kids, you see a lot of that stuff in a lot of 90s movies. And so it's like, some of this stuff, like I said, the whole breaking of the paint room or whatever was like, that's just way too much. There could have been an easier and more organic way for the mom to find out about the dog. Overall, yeah, the kids did pretty good acting. I think the new coach, the old basketball player, did good as well. And
Oh, we didn't really talk about the new coach after he got replaced.
I
yeah,
tried.
he did a good
just
job.
talked about
I
You
liked
guys
him.
moved on.
Yeah. I liked him.
All right.
He did a good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was great. I really enjoyed his character.
GG's.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, so overall, like I said, it's not a movie I'd go on my way to ever see again. But if it came across, I wouldn't maybe necessarily turn it off.
Ooh.
There you go.
I might turn it off, not necessarily. It would depend on my mood.
All right. What
I
if
was-
what if Bud was an iguana?
What if
That-
it was a cat instead? Ooh.
I do like cats. I don't think it would work with a cat though. The cat would just pop the ball and then walk away.
Yeah, or not
True.
be interested at all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
back
so many
back to
movies.
your thoughts.
Back to my thoughts. But overall, yeah, it was a movie. I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
Oh yes!
I was right.
You were right, Greedy.
Ooh, yeah! Let's go.
I was right.
Now I'm
You were
hyped.
right.
Callus, please take us
Okay,
home.
sure.
I was just
Alright.
like, 1 out of 5.
Yeah, one.
Well,
Alright, good, guys. But you
Yeah,
also
1 out of
gotta
5.
give us your recommendation of the pick from Yemmy too.
Yeah,
so.
we'll-
Afterwards,
we'll leave that for the end. Let
Yes.
Callus let him speak.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I do like the feel goodness of the movie, like the emotions. We never even talked about that scene where the kid was like telling Airbud to just go away, and like he was yelling at the dog. It was like a very heartbreaking scene. I feel like this movie had like a lot of really good emotions, like going through the ups and downs, like roller coaster of like really good movies usually do, to where like something good happens and then something bad happens and then it gets fixed at the end. And I feel like they did for a kids movie, they did a really good job of conveying all those different emotions and stuff. Some of that kid actor was like really good. Some of the adults were cringe, and overall, I would probably have to also give it a 4 out of 5.
Yes! Woo! All right, let's go. Oh man. All right. Well, Callus, it's the moment of truth. Was it
so
a
you want me
good
to,
like yeah.
You want me to rate the pick?
Yeah, rate the pick. How
Well, hold on. First of all, like, am I rating basically your? Hold on. Like, what's the parameters here?
Good question. I didn't really think it through.
Am I
Just-
rating?
It's a yes or a no question. Was it a good pick for you?
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
Mm.
Hey, perfect.
Or
perfect.
rate the pick to
Well,
how
well,
you
then we're-
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Or,
now we're
um,
just back to the beginning. I think it's a yes or no. Was it a good pick for you?
Okay, well, yes and no. Yes, it was a good pick because I ended up enjoying the movie. But like beforehand, I would have had like no absolute interest on watching this movie.
So it was not a good pick, you're saying, but you
So
ended
it's
up liking it.
borderline.
So
yeah.
Yes. Well, the thing, like, I understand the whole where you coming from with the whole basketball angle, but I only go to the basketball games because of my brother. But
That
you
was
know,
just
outside of
that was just a meme, Callus. That was
okay, all right.
I was trying to justify
was
me
just
picking
making
this
sure.
movie for you.
All right, just making sure you knew.
But I did kind of, that was part of it, but
Right.
I wanted to pick a movie that I felt like this is something about this is gonna be like Callus is gonna like it. That's the thing. And
Yeah.
if we had watched the other movie that I was going to pick, I don't think we would have had as a spirited of a discussion about it. So I'm happy that I went with Air Bud, and I'm happy that you ended up enjoying it, and that we all kind of came out with a positive experience, because I went into it kind of going, I don't know, like this might have been a bad pick. Are we gonna have anything to talk about? And I'm happy to
It's
say, like, we had a fairly good conversation and everything went smoothly.
it's funny because if he would have picked the other movie, I would have been very excited to watch that.
Hey, sometimes the oddest movies are the ones that you end up enjoying.
Yeah.
So.
True.
I feel like we needed to put a stipulation on our picks that wasn't presented last time, is that we can't pick a Jackie Chan movie. Because we know Gals is going to enjoy a Jackie Chan movie.
Yes, definitely.
So the bottom line is, it was not a good pick for Callus, but it ended up being a good pick. So technically,
Yes,
it's a
there you
no, but I'm glad that you ended up enjoying it. So I'll take that. If it
Yeah.
was a no and then you gave it like a 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5, I would be like, okay, now I feel bad. Okay, well, Day, you have a movie that you think Callus would like. What you got?
I sure do. And when this movie came out, I actually really enjoyed it as a kid. So hopefully it still stands as a good movie. But I'm gonna recommend Looney Tunes Back in Action, 2003, directed by Joe Dante. Synopsis is: fed up with all the attention going to Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck quits Hollywood, teams up with the recently fired stuntman Damian Drake Jr. and embarks on a round-the-world adventure. Along with Bugs and the VIP of Warner Bros., their mission: to find Damian's father and the missing blue diamond, and stay one step ahead of Acme Corpse, who wants the diamond for their own purposes. Kind of a weird synopsis, but that's what Letterboxd has.
Yeah.
Some of the
Alright.
cast: Brendan, beautiful, handsome Brendan Fraser, Jenna Elfman, Steve Martin, Timothy Dalton, Heather Locklear, Joan Cusack, Bill Goldberg, which is Goldberg, like the wrestler. Yeah, Dan Stanton, Dick Miller, and a bunch of others.
Wow.
So, yep, Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Don't even know if I've ever heard of this movie.
Really?
Greedy and I
I'm
watched
sh-
this movie a lot back in the
I'm
day.
sure once I see, it's vague memories in the back of my mind of a Daffy Duck, Brendan Fraser team up, but it's very, very vague.
So, Greedy, what's the reason for thinking that Callus will like this movie?
Just, childhood. I don't know, Looney Tunes. I think it's goofy. He likes goofy movies. He's a goofy person. And Brendan Fraser's handsome, and Callus is handsome.
Oh.
So,
Ooh.
Okay.
Callus, thoughts?
I will say that I remember watching this movie a very long time ago and loving it.
oh, okay. Oof.
Okay.
The way you led with that, I was like, oh.
I wanted to have you on the edge of your seat.
You did.
Okay, well, if you, the listener, do not want to be spoiled, or if you want to join the conversation for Looney Tunes Back in Action from 2003, make sure you watch it before the next episode, which will air in 2 weeks. This movie is available on Amazon, Apple TV, Vudu, and more. I think I still have the DVD of this one. And it's one of those weird DVD cases that has like the latch on the side that you pull over and
Yes.
lock down.
It
So-
made it really hard to put it with the other DVDs in your shelf.
It's that era of DVDs.
I hated those cases.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to mention before we end the show?
Actually, I do. I have an announcement to
Oh, that's
make.
right. Yes. Go for it.
So, as you know, my last episode is going to be episode 100, which means that episode 99 will be my last recommendation. And I would like to announce it right now for reasons. So, I've been like kind of joking about this for like forever, but I'm actually gonna do it this time. And my recommendation for episode 99 is Fast 5.
Okay.
Okay.
I am getting you guys into the Fast franchise, and the reason why I'm going with 5 is because that's the I feel like that's the first one where they actually decided to be fun and like super over the top entertaining. And the reason why I'm announcing it now is to give you guys the option to watch 1 through 4 if you so choose, but absolutely not necessary.
Okay.
I'm gonna
that
tell
was
you
my
right now,
question.
I'm
not
not saying because
necessary.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the episode before, I'll give you like a very quick synopsis of like 1 through 4, just very quick, just to catch you guys up on what's gonna happen in 5, like how it starts off.
Okay.
But
Sounds good.
yeah, not necessary if you guys don't want to watch it.
I'll think about it. That's
Yeah.
that's a pretty big commitment there.
Yeah.
You can skip the second one, or not second one,
No, the third
Tokyo
one.
Drift. Yeah,
Really?
you can completely skip Tokyo Drift if you want.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's the
But
one
if we
that
watch
a
1
lot of
through
people talk
4,
about.
what if we don't like it and then we go into the 5th one hating it? Or just like hate watching,
That's
What's funny is actually Tokyo Drift is the only Fast and Furious movie I've ever seen.
Wow.
It was my brother-in-law's like favorite. So one day like we just watched it and I was like, yeah, okay. Okay, fine.
That one's like the only one that doesn't have any of the main characters.
Yeah. Well, Vin
One of
Diesel shows up
them-
at the end.
Yeah, he shows up at the end, and like one of the other characters shows up in 5. But otherwise, like
Yeah.
none of the main characters are like actual main characters in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
okay, yeah. Dude, so does Vin Diesel show up in any of the other movies before this one? The fifth
Not-
one?
Not
Vin
the second
Diesel's
one,
in-
but the 4th, yes.
Okay.
Wait, I thought Vin
the
Diesel was in
first.
all of them.
Not the second or third. Well, except for the very end scene in the third in Tokyo
Yeah.
Drift. But he was not at all in the second one.
All right.
It's only Paul Walker and Tyrese. Those are the 2 main characters.
All right,
Interesting.
I'll think about it. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll find time to watch the movies beforehand.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's why I went to Nelson now to give you guys the option. But yeah, your
All right.
choice.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, the
We'll
only
talk
other
more about
thing
that one much later.
Yeah. So the only other thing I have to add is, of course, be sure to clean your ass.
Be sure to give us your fan recommendations. That's right, Tay. That's exactly right. Thank you. If you want to input your fan recommendation, we're always open to the different places. You can send us an email, comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks on YouTube, or just talk in the Discord. We would appreciate any and all recommendations. Wow, Tay, that was so astute of you. Thank you for mentioning that.
I try
Job,
sometimes.
Tay.
All right. Well, I am Air Ferret, and I've been here with.
Bud Waffles.
Creepy clownmation.
Callus, aka Bluebird.
And this has been another episode of Film Freaks with a Z. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know why it is so weird.
I liked it. I think it was good.